I'm not.
Why
getting.
is this place not functioning? Because if we say here is IMO session,
yes,
a unit, and the IMO, according to what we are told, IMO pig farming is easy to manage than the plastered floor stuff. So how come we have pigs on the fattening unit in the plaster stuff, and then here in the IMO unit there is no pigs? How come?
Well, for some time now we've had issues with feed supply in Benin, for instance, and in many other states. What we leverage on are industrial waste or industrial byproducts. In Benin, our leverage for cost reduction is spent grain. For a while now, we have not gotten spent grain, and so our objective, or for now, we are trying to cut down on our production. So this house being the first, it is just coincidental that it is the IMO section. It is the first house, and the first house we cleared out. The next would be the next.
Okay, this other one.
The next,
yes. Before you now.
Before we start, supplying,
replace them from the breeding unit.
So it's not as though it's because it is IMO that it was. It's empty.
It's okay. With this IMO stuff.
Yes.
Now, because this is a big farm.
Yes.
Okay. Anyhow you look at whether we say big or average. Now let's say someone who is just about to start on a small scale.
Yes.
Can one start on a small scale with IMO?
Very well. Very well. Now, like I said initially, the initial capital outlay for IMO tend to be a bit lower. One of the challenges that we have with pig farming is basically waste disposal. If not for the fact that we have a large expanse of land, and then we have the oil palm where we utilize the waste.
As fertilizer.
You would just imagine where we would be disposing the waste that is being generated from this farm on a daily basis.
We would have been spending more money on that.
Okay, so now initially when we started, we dug very large sockaway all around the breeding unit, the concrete pens. And before you know it, they got feed up, and we eventually started thinking about alternatives. That was where the IMO came on board, and then since we started using the IMO, it's new. We built this IMO unit this year, so we have not replaced the litter since it started. All we do is just to occasionally turn the litter.
Okay,
so like I'll go back to answer your question as to if it is advisable for the beginner to start with.
Most especially the one starting on a small scale.
On a small scale, I would say a very big yes, because the cost of building a sockaway will be out of it.
Okay.
And then the materials for providing the floor for IMO is readily available. As you can see, what we have here is the.
Can you just name few?
Okay, basically what we have basically here is just the wood shavings. Okay. Should I call it wood shaving? And the sawdust, the smooth one, is what we have. And then these are all fibrous material from coconuts that could also be used. Every other thing that we could mention is what we require for formulation of the indigenous microorganisms. So it is the microorganism that acts on the feces, the droppings, that turns them into manure, and then that makes it actually not to smell or odorless. So that's what we have. So what we just provided is to provide a very well ventilated housing system.
It's the same thing with DNA.
Yes.
The same thing with the plastered units.
Yes, it's the same thing. I think the basic difference with the plastered unit is just that it is plastered. That one is plastered. This is not plastered. And then we have the gutter around the environment.
Can you tell us, like, okay, since you guys started, have you noticed like any disadvantage of the IMO, the unit compared to the plastered floor unit?
Well, I may not be able to say that categorically, because like I said before, the IMO system we just started using. For now, there are no disadvantages that I can mention, but just like in life, whatever have advantage also have disadvantage. That's why I cannot tell you that there are no disadvantage. I haven't noticed one yet. But we do not stand the right to say there is no disadvantage at all, because we have not used it for a long time.
Okay. I think earlier in this our conversation you talked about here we having you guys here having breeding session, having fattening session. You get okay, like for someone who is starting small.
Yes.
You get, because our concern is for those starting a small scale, medium scale, and large scale. So those starting in the medium scale and large scale already aware now that okay, we'll set up a breeding session, set up a fattening session.
Yes.
You get. So since you've already talked about restriction of movement to the breeding session, you get. Now, those starting at a very small scale,
Yes.
are they also required to set up a breeding session?
Well, it is important they know that there is what we are expected to have a section different, a breeding section different from the rearing section. That's my recommendations with my experience over time, especially with the recent outbreak of African swine fever. It became very important to keep biosecurity very serious in all of our farm. So that's why I would recommend. But then, you even as a beginner who would not be able to even set up more than one house, you could have a room or a pen that is meant for breeding, separate from that of the rearing. What we usually do when we are setting up a one pen or a one house pen, it's to, as a house like this where we have one long unit, is to set up the breeding sections behind.
Okay, while we have the fattening section.
While we have the fattening sections
at the front, which anyone can easily
walk up to. At that point now, you could have a demarcation, a door at that point.
That will restrict anyone from
going beyond that point, because you really do not have a business with that section, except you want to buy breeding stock.
It's okay.
And if you must buy a breeding stock at that point, we have some biosecurity measure that we must take you through before you are able to go through that section. So is to set up the breeding section. Normally the rearing section the major difference is that while we have smaller compartments in the breeding unit, in the rearing unit we have larger rooms where you can accommodate more pigs for rearing.